terrifying happened to me. It all started on a Saturday. I was with my friends exploring the woods on the outskirts of town. We went there fairly often, especially in the summer when we didn't have to worry about going to school. On this particular autumn day, my friends Annie and Sean weren't being much fun. "I need to get back soon. I have to be in the raid on my game within the next hour, else my team will freak," Sean moaned. He was completely video game obsessed. In fact, he was so addicted that Annie and I barely saw him outside of school anymore. "Sorry, Maria, but I have to go soon too. I have a nail appointment at 2 p.m. She held out her hands and looked down at the chipped nail polish on her index finger. "It's an emergency." "Fine. I'm just going to go home too," I huffed out. "Bye." I gave them a weak wave before I stormed off across the dirt path. "Maria, don't be like that," Annie shouted after me. I ignored her and carried on walking. I was really mad. All I'd wanted was one day with my friends, one day where they put me first, but as usual, they both had somewhere better to be. I was so angry that I carried on walking without taking much notice of where I was going. As I began to calm down, I realized that I was in a part of the woods that I hadn't been in before. There was a large clearing with a couple of good rocks to sit on, so I perched on one and scrolled through my phone. Of course, I didn't have any signal. I never did in these woods. I rested my head on my backpack and sighed. My friends sucked, and now I was alone in an unknown part of the woods. I heard a sound. Broken twigs. I jerked my head around to see what it was and saw a fawn up ahead standing amongst the trees. I stood as quietly as I could and slowly slung my backpack over my shoulder. The fawn looked directly at me before it ran off through the trees. I found myself running too, even after the fawn was long gone. Still, I carried on running. I only stopped when I reached a barbed wire fence. There was a dirty white sign with red writing on it. "Restricted area, do not enter." I wasn't usually a rule breaker, but I didn't think much of the sign. It was probably just there to scare off teenagers. I walked along the fence until I found a section where the barbed wire was hanging off. I placed my jacket on it, climbed over it, and went off to explore this new section of the woods. I had been walking for about 10 minutes when I stepped on a dirt clearing, and the ground beneath me gave way and I fell. That's how I ended up stuck in a hole in the restricted area of the woods. I was trapped there, covered in dirt and in agony with my ankle, which I'd broken in the fall. I frantically tried to wipe the dirt off my phone and call someone, but I still had no signal. I screamed out, but no one heard me. I checked my backpack. I had a 3/4 full bottle of water, a bag of chips, and an oatmeal bar. I didn't know much about survival or anything, but I knew that I wouldn't last long down here with my minimal supplies. Day turned to night, and I didn't sleep at all. I could hear owls hooting and animals' footsteps. My ankle hurt so badly. It had swollen out, and even moving it a tiny bit was excruciating. The next day, I shouted out for help until my voice went hoarse. I ate my oatmeal bar and drank half of the water. I was so hungry and thirsty, but I knew that I had to save my supplies. I checked my phone signal again. The battery had died. I cried and cried until I had no tears left. Daytime ended, and I spent another terrifying night stuck in the hole. I thought about my parents and how sorry I was for all the times I'd been moody and rude to them. I thought about Annie and Sean and how I'd been a lame friend. "I'm sorry," I muttered out. "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." I had a trickle of water left now. If it had been summer, I would have been dead by now, but the early autumn weather was forgiving. The nights were cold, though, so unbelievably cold. I couldn't stop shivering, and my ankle, it ached so much I could no longer feel it. I ate my bag of chips, but I saved the last trickle of water. It felt like the end was close, but still I refused to drink it. "Goodbye, world," I muttered out as I closed my eyes. "It's been a blast." That's when I heard the footsteps. At first, I thought they were from an animal, but the closer they grew, the heavier they sounded. They belonged to a human. "Help me, please," I croaked out the best I could. Please, I'm down here. Seeing the brown-haired man peer down at me was one of the best moments of my life.
She's over here!
I heard him shout. I woke up in hospital with my family around me. I had hypothermia, a broken ankle, and some gross wounds on my arms and legs. Turns out I fell down an animal trap. There had been poacher sightings around the woods, which is why they'd fenced off the area. I should never have stormed off away from my friends, and I should never have entered the restricted area. I've learned my lesson now, and I won't be doing anything like that again. I was lucky, and I survived. I still haven't drunk that trickle of water. It's on display on my bookshelf in my room. I leave it there to remind me how lucky I am to still be alive. So, yep, you can see, curiosity has its dangerous side that sometimes can cause injury and even death. But, well, it is, simply, how we learn and grow, isn't it? How about you? Do you have a survivor story that makes your heart almost stop a beat? If the answer is yes, please share with us in the